This is Karen Kuniyuki with the Emmanuel School of Fine Arts. Today's digital photography lesson focuses on photojournalism, or the art of storytelling using pictures. The secret to a good photo is the art of storytelling. The difference between a good photo and a great photo is often in the story the image conveys. And this can be done in just one photo or in a series of frames. So what I'd like to highlight for you today is how you can look around you in your house, in your family, or maybe on a short little trip that you take around San Angelo or around where you live, and you can create a photo story. A lot of times when people go out to take pictures, they're not really sure what they want to take pictures of, and it ends up being a stumbling block, not having anything to focus on. No pun intended. So today I'm going to show you some different ways to just photograph the things around you, but to interpret them as part of a story or part of a collection, something greater than just one image. The world is full of potential stories. Wherever you look, something is going on. For me, every family outing has the ability to tell a story. So I'll take pictures of everything throughout the day. Some of my photo stories take place in a short period of time, like the night we attended the San Angelo Rodeo. Other stories took me an entire year to capture, like the year I took one photo a day to document the culture of Okinawa, Japan. It was our last year in Japan, and I really wanted to capture all of my favorite parts that were going to fill me up with memories for the rest of my life. There was also the year that I took one photo a day of my 3 sons, or something having to do with my 3 sons. So my photo story was really motherhood, but it ended up being an incredible collection of my 3 kids growing up, forming relationships with each other, and they are some of my favorite pictures to date. Being a photojournalist doesn't necessarily mean that you're capturing images that are going to be on the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers. A photo story can be something simple. It doesn't mean you need to find something equivalent to a high-profile event or other things that you've seen in the news. Photographing in my mother's garden is one of my favorite things to do when we visit New York. She has so many interesting, beautiful plants and flowers in her garden. She even has flowers that bloom only at night. One of the most important things for me is the ability to see a situation starting to develop. You can plan photo shoots, deciding ahead of time the location or the time of day or what props you might use. But sometimes things are totally unexpected and you need to seize that opportunity as it presents itself. Like the time my neighbor in Arizona offered to take me to the set of a movie that was being filmed. I'll show you those photos later on. No matter what the subject is, here are my tips and tricks to taking more interesting photos and developing your storytelling capabilities. My first tip is to shoot a variety of images. You can concentrate all of your resources on getting one single great photo. But this is a digital age, and you're not paying for film, and you're not paying for the processing or the printing of it. So take as many shots of the scene as you can from all angles, and then decide later on which single frame tells the story the best. Or you can create a set of varied photos that collectively give you a better interpretation and tell a complete story. My suggestion is to combine these 2 approaches. Aim to create a variety of photos, but give each photo your best effort. In other words, when you see the possibility of an image, give it your full attention and make it as good as you can before you move on to the next. At the same time, explore all of your options. Don't get too caught up on one subject from one single angle. Move around. So how do you create variety? Here are 2 ways. Vary your viewpoint. Get closer to your subject or further away. take photos from below or from above. Of course, the best viewpoint depends a lot on the subject of your project, the light, and the lenses you are using. But the key is to always be thinking about how you can add variety by moving around and taking photos from all different angles. The next thing you could do to create variety is take scene setting shots as well as close-ups. You could start with a scene setting photo that captures everything, and then move on to create a variety of photos from closer viewpoints, showing details. This worked well for the weekend trip that we made to Colorado Bend State Park a couple weeks ago. I took some scenic landscape shots as we hiked and swam, but I also took time to capture the flora and fauna along the way. Those would be the animals and the plants and the interesting little tidbits that I noticed. I made a point to photograph each of my kids as they enjoyed the day and the water and splashing in the creek, and I made sure to capture some bookend shots where our day began, the sign from the state park, and how it ended, watching the lightning on the horizon as we made our long drive home that night. It's often hard to tell a story with just one single image, but it's much easier with a sequence of photos because you can show different aspects of the same story in each one. For example, find some commonalities that link the photos. While photo stories need variety among the images to create interest, it is helpful if the photos are also linked in some way. For example, you could process all the photos from a photo shoot in black and white, or they could be processed in a similar style using like Instagram filters. Perhaps you use the same exact Lightroom developing presets if you're working in like one of the Adobe software on the computer. If you have a project that involves portraits, maybe you use the same light source to link all the photos. Using the same lighting setup for each portrait would achieve a group of portraits that looked cohesive and looked like they go together. Another tip for you is to show genuine interest in people. If your project involves people, it is important to be genuinely interested in them and whatever they are doing. Let's say, for example, that you undertake a project taking portraits of surfers. You'll get the best results if you are genuinely interested in surfing and you enjoy talking with surfers. So one time my neighbor offered to take me over to where some filmmakers were making a movie on Fort Huachuca, and I jumped at the opportunity. I have always thought that the coolest job would be to photograph on the set of a movie, and it was genuinely something that I was interested in, and I wanted to observe the people at their work, and I wanted to see how the actors were preparing for the movie, how they were off on the side, how they were when they were being filmed. It was all just fascinating to me, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my career. It's all about authenticity. If you're genuinely interested in people, you will have plenty in common, and you'll find it easy to talk to them, and they will feel at ease in front of your camera. But if you're not, then you won't make any connections, and connections are really essential for good portraiture. I think new budding photographers are often worried about photographing people in general, especially strangers. But if you are out at a parade or an event, like a public venue where there are other people taking pictures, don't have fear of taking pictures of another person, especially if that person is in a position of acting or singing or performing in some way. They expect people to take pictures of them, so you shouldn't feel nervous at all about approaching them for a picture. My motto has always been to ask for forgiveness later rather than asking for permission. So if I see something unfolding, I will go for the picture that I see before the person realizes that they're being photographed. And then if they see me photograph them and they're really unhappy, I apologize profusely. But honestly, it has happened so seldom, maybe just once or twice in my life of taking pictures. And I am never regretful when I jump at the opportunity to take the picture that I saw happening or unfolding. My next bit of advice is to give your photography time. Give your portraits time to evolve. Give your projects time to evolve and mature. For example, if you have a project photographing your local landscape, give it time to change over the course of seasons, or over the course of the day even. Light will change in a location hour to hour throughout the day. And you can see this in my pictures of the ocean. We lived in Okinawa, Japan for 4 years, and there was a beach called Tori Station, which is where the army base is, and we would go down to that beach all the time, and we'd take picnic dinners, or we would go in the morning and play before it got too hot. So I have a lot of pictures of that beach and the ocean out in front of that beach. And what I think is interesting is how different that beach looks depending on the time of day, the time of year, and even what is happening in some of the pictures where my children are in the pictures. So showing the changes that happen over a period of time is a great way of telling a story. Last but not least, compare and evolve. The reason why projects are such a good learning experience is because they give you the opportunity to compare your work and how it is currently working out for you, and compare it with earlier photos, your earlier attempts. Line up your very first tries next to some photos that come later on in your experience, and you'll see how your ideas and your techniques have evolved over time. You'll also benefit by building a body of work and learning how to edit a portfolio. That means throwing away the pictures that aren't good pictures. They're not in focus. They don't have good light. They might be blurry. Maybe your subject is directly in the center of the picture, but you have another one that's kind of like it, and your subject is off to one side and just shows a better composition. So learning how to edit out your pictures and selecting only the strongest images will help you evolve as a photographer. It's going to help your photo stories gain strength and interest, and by having a large collection of pictures, you're able to have more choices. I hope these ideas help you to pinpoint an idea of your own, something to photograph every day, or maybe something to photograph every month. If you do participate in a one-a-day kind of challenge, don't beat yourself up over missing a couple days. Just pick up where you left off and keep on going. Don't quit just because you missed a couple of days in the challenge. As always, I hope you learned something from this lesson. I hope you have some takeaways. I hope that you will try out some of the things that we've talked about today and share your results with us on Facebook and Instagram. This art lesson was produced in result to the pandemic, COVID-19, which just keeps dragging on, and we will keep persevering, as always, trying to put out good content for you to enjoy with your family and to share with your friends, to stay busy this summer, busy and active and being creative, and we truly hope to see you in our classroom very, very soon in person. Until then, take care and have fun. Bye.